Good afternoon to you. Welcome back to News Infusion. I'm Jessica Makela, bringing you episode 6, that being Nigeria, the youth, and police brutality. I'm sure some of you have come across the hashtag #EndSARS, and so we will be giving you a sense of what has been happening in Nigeria. Do share, like, and comment as we get some young perspectives on global matters.
The protest began peacefully in the morning as Nigerians of all ages pressed home their demand for accountability from government security forces. Nationwide rallies, which started last week against a notorious police unit implicated in extrajudicial killings and torture, succeeded in getting the government to abolish the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. But the announcement of replacement SWAT unit to fight violent crimes further angered protesters.
Police using live ammunition against people demonstrating in Lagos, Nigeria's biggest city. They've also been using powerful water cannons. Amnesty International says at least 10 protesters have been killed so far. And scenes like these from today have also been going on, and it's been happening for a week now. The demonstrators are calling for a notorious police unit known as SARS to be scrapped. It's the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, and it's widely accused of human rights violations, including torture and extrajudicial killings. These are the type of abuses protesters want to stop. This is footage from 2014 showing a man being hit by armed policemen as they hurl abuse at him. There are also claims of daily persecution of ordinary Nigerians. Young people in particular say they're routinely harassed by SARS and allegedly extorted for money too. Here are some of the protesters.
I'm a woman. I come back at night. Police will tell me that when I get money to buy my vehicle, they'll call me prostitute. We cannot do that. I work too hard for my money, man.
Stop killing our boyfriends. Stop killing our children. Stop. Mothers are crying. Stop killing them.
End SARS now, today, not tomorrow. End SARS now.
The disbanding of SARS is only the first step in our commitment to extensive police reform in order to ensure that the primary duty of the police and other law enforcement agencies remains the protection of lives and livelihoods of our people.
So we've been hearing about the hashtag #EndSARS, and I think some South Africans thought about our very own tax revenue services at first, that being SARS too. But in the context of Nigeria and what we are focusing on today, this is the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, which has been accused of extortion and killings of many innocent people. The squad was set up in 1984 to combat a growing problem of people stealing from each other using force in Nigeria. Now, Zainab, you're originally from Nigeria, so I'd like to get your full-on perspective on the hashtag #EndSARS protest and the effect it has had on your country.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So yeah, you did like a very brief introduction into the Special Anti-Robbery Squad and why this whole #EndSARS protest is coming up now. So from 1984 till now, the extortion, the profiling of young Nigerians has gone on for so long that people have had enough. So what happened was people get arrested on the basis that they are criminals, not necessarily being caught in the act of crime, but just on suspicion that, oh, you look like a criminal, therefore you get arrested. And you're not taken to a court, you are just put in a police station. And what happens was 2 years later, your family, they are looking for you and they find out you are dead. So you're arrested without being accounted for, and then extrajudicial killings going on. And then 2 weeks ago, Nigerians on Twitter started, okay, #EndSARS, end police brutality, after a video of a man being allegedly shot by the police went live. And people were like, okay, this is too much, we have had enough. Then the hashtag started, and people are like, okay, instead of us just staying on Twitter, because we did trend worldwide on Twitter, and then we're like, okay, let's take it to the streets. People started forming clusters of protests all over, and then before we know it, it blew up. Sunday, the 11th of October, the Inspector General of Police came out and like, oh, okay, we are going to dissolve SARS.
Right.
But you don't dissolve a unit that is apparently still killing people the next day. Like, are we fools? No. So people are like, okay, you can. We are not asking for nomenclature banning or dissolving. We are asking for an end to police brutality. We are asking for us to be able to walk freely on the road as young people and not just be arrested because we look like criminals, or because I have multicolored hair, or because I have a lot of piercing, or I have dreadlocks. So now, the units are supposedly, and I'm putting it in supposedly, being banned. But we are still seeing the activities of police brutalities in the country. And now that's why the protest is going on for so long. The president is refusing to address the country. A lot of political leaders are just thinking young people are doing child's play. And it's funny because this protest has gotten to 2 weeks. We've garnered a lot of support from the international system. Jack, the CEO of Twitter, gave us like an emoji for the movement, even like asked people to donate to the cause. And I'm very surprised how the Nigerian government still thinks we are playing with them when this thing is very serious. Like, you don't think we are playing. We've literally blocked every major infrastructure in the country. The Central Bank of Nigeria was blocked. A very profitable toll gate for Lagos State lost 234 million naira in just 3 days. Nigeria has lost almost $1.8 trillion since the 2 weeks that we started the protest. And the government still thinks we are playing with them with this protest. So like, everyone is angry in the country. Even though I'm not in the country, I'm angry. But like, we're just trying to make sure we articulate the demands in a way that they know we are not just angry youth. We have a legitimate basis to ask for an end to police brutality in the country. Yeah.
And have you experienced an altercation by SARS, or maybe know of someone close to you that has experienced this?
So like, it's like the norm is for you to have a story about SARS, and the abnormal is for you to actually not to have a story about them. So you can imagine how the norm is for you experiencing this thing, and the abnormal is, oh, I've actually not experienced it before. So a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, her story is actually the one like the country is really angry about. And I'm going to narrate it, and it doesn't make sense. Her brother went to a naming ceremony, a child dedication, and he was arrested at the place. They took him to the police station. His parents were told, oh, your son has been arrested. They went to the police station, and they are telling his parents, oh, sorry, we didn't arrest your son. While they were going back and forth, oh, we didn't arrest your son, the boy was taken into the police station. And the mother is saying, this is my son. They said, no, oh, they were caught in a crossfire with armed robbers. And I'm like, wait, if my son was caught in a crossfire with armed robbers, the news would have actually carried any kind of violence in that particular vicinity. Then they went home, they started running around. They went back the next day, and guess what? This person told them, I have killed your son, and there's nothing you can do about it. So this person, this James Nwafo, is actually a wanted person in the country right now. So the youth are looking for him. There's a bounty on his head. So it's like a whole jungle. And now they've been going back and forth trying to, they don't even know if the boy is dead. That's the first thing. This thing happened in 2012. The man collected 3 million naira from them that, okay, we'll look for your son. They went to the commissioner of police. They went to the inspector general of police. So this is not child's play. Yeah. People are being killed. But because we are only saying their name, we kind of dehumanize them and remove the being from their names. When we realize that these names are for actual human beings, then we reflect how serious the issue is. So this person is a close friend of mine. She's really grieving. And now imagine this protest coming up and them having to relive what happened 8 years ago. They've not found the body. The father of the boy was told to go into a river full of dead bodies to see if his son's body is in the river. I'm not joking, dudes. This is a real life story. It is not movie. Yeah. No, this actually is not movie. And why we are angry, and this is just one person out of the thousands that have been killed. Somebody was coming out of a football viewing center and then he was shot dead. Why? Because he looked too fine to own his car.
Sure.
Yes. I mean, you're looking fresh with your art. You can't walk around in Nigeria like this with a MacBook and an iPhone, because you're going to be like, wait, how can you afford a MacBook and an iPhone and you're just 24 years old? So these are the levels of profiling we are talking about, and how it's close to home when you know, like, your friend has gone through it, a male friend of yours gun has been put to his face and they're telling him, we are going to waste you here and there's nothing that will happen. Those kind of traumas happen. And then people think, or the government thinks, we are playing with them just because we are tweeting and retweeting on Twitter and we are chanting every day. So it is the norm for people to have a sad story, and it is abnormal for them to actually live beyond the day they have the story.
I like the way that you put it, because I think it makes the message very clear, and thank you for that. So Musi Maimani tweeted, we are interconnected as brothers and sisters, as neighbors, and as Africans. That's why hashtag Zimbabwean Lives Matter, hashtag EndSARS, and hashtag Shut It All Down Namibia are important calls. The youth of Africa are speaking up, and we must help get their voices heard. Now, throughout all these hashtags, various images and videos are shared concerning the experiences of various individuals, killings, violence, the list goes on. And whenever something bad or painful occurs, we turn to social media to voice out this frustration instead of going to the various government institutions that are meant to deal with these issues. Now, Wade, do you think the youth are starting to view social media as a protective space?
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think as young people, we are also getting to the point where we are starting to see the importance of social media and not necessarily just viewing it as a platform to connect with other people. You know, if I look back, I used to purely be on Facebook just to like comment on things or post a picture or something. But now we're getting to a point where we're realizing that social media is a very, very, very important tool to promote activism, but as well as making your voice heard as an individual, you know. So not necessarily having to associate to an organization or having to associate to anything else. That's why in the political field, I'm also starting to see that's why we are so prone to move towards independent candidates. But that's a thing of, it's a topic for another day, but it shows me that individuals' voices are starting to be heard. So as young people, we're starting to see, you know what, I'm going to stand for this, regardless if anyone else is going to make a noise about it, but I'm going to use my social media to make a point. So sometimes the only way to protect yourself is by putting something out there, right? So what we see, for example, with the EndSARS thing is, I'm going to stand for something, whether you're afraid, I'm still going to go forward, you know, but I know I have a protective measure by everyone knowing that, oh, Wade is standing for this. So if anything happens to Wade, it's been on social media, it's out there, and that's probably why something happened to Wade, you know. So it is very much a protective measure that we're starting to use. And I think it's very important that we're starting to realize that it is a protective measure. It is a very, 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 very big, important tool to use, you know. So I'm for it. I'm all for it. I see it as, because sometimes the police, we are fighting against the police, so we can't even head out to them. So sometimes we need our followers to back us up in that sense, you know.
It seems as though SARS targets the youth, as you mentioned, young people that are well dressed and that look successful, rather. Do you know why that is?
So first, let me start from the idea of the police force as a whole in West Africa and how that's like a consequence of colonialism, and how the police force or the armed force generally was not created to protect the people then. They were created to protect the interests of the colonial masters. So now what happened in post-colonial West Africa or post-colonial Nigeria is the government replaced the colonial masters. Yeah. So the people now are the ones that the police are meant to oppress instead of the government. So now you find that people have been calling for the head, okay, not like literal head, but like for the guy to resign, the Inspector General of Police to resign. But the president fails, they are still not letting this guy to resign. Why? Because obviously they are doing the bidding of the government. So now, last week, the public relations officer of the Nigerian police went on TV to say, how can a 24-year-old boy own a Toyota Corolla? What work are you doing? So it's a mentality of older generations that the pressing phone generation, the under 30s, cannot make more money at like buying cars and buying iPhones and owning Mac, because they believe that the only way to make legitimate money is 9 to 5, not knowing the world is moving beyond traditional means of earning money. People are working on their laptops and earning dollars. People are editing, are transcribing, are reading essays on behalf of people, and they are earning money. Recently, a Nigerian startup got bought by Stripe for $200 million. These guys literally were pressing laptop and they are making $200 million. A Nigerian parent will not agree with you that pressing your phone can make you money. Because they believe it's not productive. They believe the only way you make money is to go to bank, dress with tie and like suit and everything. So when they see you with dreads, looking fine, with tattoos, my girl, with earrings, and then you have a MacBook and the latest iPhone, you're driving a car, the first thing is, she's a criminal. There's no way she earned that money legitimately. That is the mentality. And that is why the youths are the target.
Yeah.
Because it is our generation, beyond Nigeria, our generation under 30s, we are finding ways to make money outside of the traditional 9 to 5. We are opening spaces for ourselves, owning startups. But these people don't realize that we are doing the right. They feel what we are doing is illegitimate because they can't fathom that a 24-year-old can own a car by not sitting in a bank 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. stamping tellers. That is the problem. And this is not even limited to Nigeria, because I think it's a mentality thing that you have to be a lawyer or an accountant for you to be successful in life. People are literally coding and earning money. So what is the problem? We are asking for an advancement in how people progress in life, but yet you want us to remain stagnant the way you were 40 years ago. And also another thing is they don't believe our generation can stand against status quo. And this also applies to youth across board. I mean, I've been living in South Africa for 3 years, and I experienced like the fall, Fees Must Fall, Rose Must Fall, and most of these movements have youth at the forefront. Our parents were conditioned to keep quiet in the face of oppression, because they didn't have a choice. But we don't have anything holding us back. So we feel, the worst thing is we are going to die. So we rather speak up. So our generation is actually uprooting a lot of shackles that our parents couldn't.
Yes.
And that's another problem these people have with us. We are a generation that they can't bind. We are a generation they can't control. And that pisses them off so bad.
Global thing. The same thing happened in the US with George Floyd. It was young people at the forefront and saying, as Black people, we are not going to stand for this police brutality. You guys are dealing with police brutality. We dealt with police brutality as well, with Collins Causa, as well as with the Down syndrome boy, Nathan Jr. It's a global situation that we're currently dealing with. And at the forefront of it is young people, because we don't have the background of that oppression, apartheid, colonization. We don't have that, and we're not for it. We're not going to see it. We're not going to sit back, and we're not going to deal with it. So now our grandparents, our parents are people who had to be humbled. They had to humble themselves and say, well, I'm going to submit. But we are at that point where we're not doing that. So our parents don't understand that. Therefore, we need to now come in. Our parents taught us, yes, very well. But now we also need to teach them and say, hey, Lang, this is what's happening. And as much as you guys are trying to protect us, we need to protect the generation that is coming. It goes back to this whole cultural change, a generational change. And we are currently at a place now where we need a new culture to develop. I've had a conversation with friends as well, where we were saying South Africa specifically had a political revolution, but we need an economic revolution as well. We need those changes, because now our current government only thinks on the liberation, but they're not thinking we need to liberate people economically as well now. Those type of conversations. So it goes back to what you were saying about how our parents and our grandparents were raised and how they're trying to implement things in our life. We now need to get to a point where we are teaching them and saying, you no longer need to be scared. Exactly. White people can't come for you no more. We can raise our voices because we have now human rights. As Black people, we now have the opportunities, But at the same time, we also have Black people who are in the police force, who are imposing the police brutality onto us, which is a difficult thing as well to deal with. Yeah.
The Nigerian government said it would disband SARS, but at the same time, protesters are still not satisfied and believe that the Nigerian police leadership and government needs to change as well, because people are dying from police brutality. Now, what do you think is the main factor that contributes to police brutality? In other words, what really drives someone who has taken the oath to protect and provide security to end up violating that oath?
Okay, so I'm gonna take this to a meme that I actually saw crazy enough, and it was saying, you're giving a gun to someone who did like a 3-week course, and then a lawyer who implements the laws or whatever has to study for like 4 years, right? So you're giving someone a deadly weapon. Have they done the psyche test? Do they do all these things? Do they implement all these things? You know, it just upsets me so much because it takes me back to the pain I had with Nathaniel Julius. You know, I had so much hurt in me, and it was just very sad because they went to a place of profiling this very, very young man, a Down syndrome boy, profiling him, saying gang violence, you know, colored boy in a colored community, and that's where gang infested people are. So let's just say gang violence, you know. So for me, it's painful and it's difficult to answer because I can't even explain. Like, I don't know what would motivate someone to get to a point where police brutality is fine and it becomes a thing. Guys, I remember growing up, people wanted to be cops. Like, I want to be a cop, I want to be a fireman, I want to be this, you know. But now it's a thing of you can't even trust the police. You know, when you get pulled over by a policeman, you have to actually drive to a garage or you drive to another police station to make sure that you're safe, you know. But I think the reason why it's happening is because of this cultural change, you know. We know our rights. We know our rights. So now they still have a mindset of you need to submit to any cop, because back in the day when a white cop pulled over one of us as people of color, you freeze. And that is the fear that they have in the US right now. You freeze, you raise your hands. Honestly, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that when I know I'm right, when I know my rights, when I know you are violating my rights, and when I know that you are not doing your job properly. I'm not just going to stand. So they have this mindset of you're disrespectful, and they also still have this traditional way of thinking. And many of us, young Black men specifically, a lot of us are stepping away from that traditionalist way of thinking as men specifically. That's another topic for another day. But it goes in with this because most of our cops are men. Most of the men imposing this police brutality onto people are men, are Black men actually. So there's still this notion of I'm imposing this upon you. So now when I come as a young Black man in the 21st century in a liberated society, how do you think you have the right to respond to me? Let me discipline you. Let me show you your parents aren't raising you properly. And that's why young people are being attacked, because our policemen still have this notion of I can impose and I can say whatever I want to say and you're just going to do it. No. So I think that's the start. It's just the start, but it's way deeper.
But the next day, this unit shot someone. Are we fools? So also, and like he said, we know our rights. We know that there is always a deeper level of context behind everything. You can't just tell me you're under arrest. Why am I getting arrested? First, tell me, read my Miranda right to me before you actually put handcuffs on my. So there are a lot of, like, okay, let me use the word, we are woke already. Let me just use that word it cool. So you can't just submit. You can't ask me to submit to your authority without giving me a justification for why. So yeah, I kind of actually subscribe to his analysis.
Closing off, and this applies to both of you, just ending on a lighter note, what aspirations do you have for Africa as young Africans, and what do you think this continent needs moving forward?
We have terrible leadership on this continent.
Yes, yes.
Terrible leadership on this continent. And I'm going to say it for the third time, terrible leadership. See, I fully acknowledge the consequence of colonization, apartheid, and everything. That plays like 50% of the problem. But how would we have our own kin, our own species in government, and we are still impoverished?
Yeah.
Please, how? How would Congo have the world's most natural resources, but they are literally at the bottom of every list of positive things in the world? South Africa has a lot of gold, mineral resources, but Black people in South Africa are still the major people when it comes to statistics of poverty. Nigeria is the most populated Black country in the world. We have the world's oil, but thugs are being hired for less than $1 to disrupt a peaceful protest. Can we still blame the white man for how our leaders act? I'm giving 50% to the colonizers, but the remaining 50%, who are we going to give? We can't keep blaming these people. They did like the worst thing, yes. Yeah. But you see, when we elect a president for 5 years, obviously we don't expect you to take us to the moon, but at least show us substantial developments. And that's why I say again, leadership is our problem. Because when you look at how young people keep agitating for the right thing, you know that I don't think we are the problem. Because like, I engage young African, I'm like, wait, how is Mugabe your president for 30 plus years and you are this bright? So for me, an Africa I want to see is an Africa that actually has leaders that can think for it and articulate that thinking into positive development.
I think I carry the very same sentiments that she does. But I also believe that South Africa, yes, should grow in our own sense in terms of developing ourselves, fixing ourselves, before we have a mindset of let's expand and become global. Currently, our economy is in the pits. Our health sector is in the pits. Guys, how are people, how are grade 12 passing with 20% maths? You know, those type of things. So now my thing is, now if we expand to Africa, as you were saying, we have mineral resources that, guys, that could make us one of the wealthiest continents. But we
Not
still go.
We are the
and we beg, exactly, and beg, and we go and we make loans, and then we go to the UN and we look like fools. And then certain presidents say certain things to about African leaders, and we can't say they're wrong. We can't defend our African leaders because they are leading us to destruction. They placing Africa in the hands of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
We are being sold the way we were sold previously. So in South Africa, we have corruption. In Ghana, in Zimbabwe, in Nigeria, everywhere. So I see Africa in the next couple of years under new leadership, young people. I would love to see African leaders. By the way, can I please just say one thing? I've noticed a trend in African leadership. We heading to the way our colonial leaders conducted their things. They're leading us the way they were taught and the way they're copying. You know, one of our lecturers once said that there's this whole master and boy type of mindset, you know, that's happening. So when the master leaves, the boy does exactly what the master did, and that is what's happening. So therefore, we have Black people fighting Black people. You know, it's very, very sad. So my hopes for Africa is to see it become the economic hub it can be, the globe shifter. Guys, if Africans could all come together and stand together and say, you know what, I am for Nigeria, I am for South Africa, I am for Zim, then we can make such a big shift. I mean, I was reading up on the infrastructure in Zimbabwe and the mine and the minerals that they still have in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe still has like, just quote unquote, I could be wrong, almost 90% in certain fields. They still have 90% of their resources. Their infrastructure just needs maintenance.
Yes.
And it could boom again, you know? So those are the things that if we could come together as Africans and say, let's fix this, let's fix that, let's incorporate this different policies that we have in our different countries, we could boom, we could really, really make a shift, and we could really own everything. But we have the whole bus and boy mindset, our leaders. So I'm hoping for that economic shift, because once you have the economic power, there's a lot of other powers that come along with it. Yeah.
One thing I do appreciate about the coronavirus pandemic is its ability to raise awareness worldwide, indirectly. Since the beginning of this year, we've been exposed to the truth. Society is standing up to its governments and saying that we are tired and that it's time you take care of the citizens of the country and just do better. Thank you so much for watching. Be on the lookout for News Infusion as we return in November, same time, same place.